What exactly does that mean? And what I mean by that is that when you look at these stadiums, some of them are going to be tough anyway. Basically, if you have tougher opponents, I think people get up for stadium games or at stadiums for games that are at places where there are tougher matchups. So you're going to see some stuff on here where certain teams are not going to be on it that you would think, oh, wow, this team's going to be on the list regardless. You'll notice here shortly who I'm talking about. Number 10 on this list, the Oklahoma Stadium, which is the Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. I guess you're just trying to remember Oklahoma. I don't know why it's called that. But the home games there, Western Carolina, Nebraska, West Virginia, TCU, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. So, yeah. And Oklahoma's going to be pretty good, too. So I could buy them at number 10. Number 9, Camp Randall Stadium. Home games there include Penn State, Eastern Michigan, Michigan, Army, Iowa, Northwestern, and Nebraska. Yeah, Wisconsin. That'll be a pretty interesting sight there with those teams, especially with Penn State and Michigan coming in to the same spot. Shout out to USC Insider watching over there in the chat room. He said he got him a signed Jadeveon Clowney jersey. That's a heck of a thing to get, man. Former number 1 overall pick. Good stuff there. All right, 8th toughest stadium, Autzen Stadium. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Oregon fans might get upset, but that's out in Oregon. Their home games, I'm not necessarily buying this. Here are the home games for Oregon. Fresno State, Stony Brook. When I think Stony Brook, I think baseball from their run a couple of years ago in the College World Series. Also, Arizona, California, Colorado, Washington State, and Oregon State. I don't think that's going to be one of the toughest places to play simply because I don't think any of the teams are going to be that crazy there, to be honest with you. The 7th ranked stadium is Sanford Stadium with Georgia. Their matchups include UAB, South Carolina, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mizzou, and Charleston Southern. Regardless of what the Georgia fans think of me, I think they're going to have a pretty good team. I don't understand how Sanford Stadium is going to be rocking, though, when your toughest matchup there is South Carolina, maybe Kentucky. I'm not buying that at all. Same thing goes for Clemson. They're at number 6. SC State, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Florida State, UConn, and Wake Forest. This is not the Florida State team from years ago. Clemson wins all those games by 21 points. There you go. I don't see why Clemson Stadium is going to be that hostile of an environment. Is anybody really going to get up for the Georgia Tech game or the Boston College game? No, probably not. 5, Ohio Stadium for Ohio State. They've got Oregon, Tulsa, Akron, Maryland, Penn State, Purdue, and Michigan State. I could see them in there because of Oregon and Penn State being there as well. Maybe Maryland will finally pull their head out of the ground this year. We'll see. Number 4 is the Swamp, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. They've got FAU, Alabama, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Samford, and Florida State. You know what? I can see where that might be a place that'll be rocking with some of the stuff that's there. So congratulations to passing the fluid test here with the Swamp. Kyle Field at Texas A&M. Here's the matchups that are there. Kent State, New Mexico State, Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, and Prairie View A&M. You know, we goof on Texas Tech a little bit. Excuse me, Texas A&M a little bit, but Prairie View A&M? Why the hell is an SEC team playing Prairie View A&M? That makes 0 sense. We will give them credit because they do have Alabama at home and Auburn at home. Beaver Stadium for Penn State. Home games include Ball State, Auburn, Villanova, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Rutgers. I can buy them in the top 10 because I think Illinois is pretty good. Same thing goes having Auburn there as well. Indiana is going to be good. I don't know about Illinois. And Michigan's coming, so that's fine. But number one, according to this list, goes to LSU. LSU gets McNeese State, Central Michigan, Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, Louisiana Monroe, and Texas A&M. Congratulations. I think that's pretty close. You're going to have at least 2, maybe 3 preseason top 25 teams there. So LSU makes the top of the list. Not on this list is, of course, and I think the reason South Carolina is not on the list for the people that are here in Columbia is because they're still trying to rebuild down there. When Williams-Brice has a good team that's there, that place is loud as all get out, shaking the roll, shaking the everything. So yeah, there's that. Also not on the list is Alabama. Supposedly the best team in the country, not the most intimidating place to play. Your response to that, 803-978-1832. Some comments. Jerome said, I read where some site didn't list South Carolina in the top 5 running back rooms. Well, those are people that are not on the Marshawn Lloyd trade yet. And the guy hasn't played a down on the field yet. So I'm not holding up for those people who wrote that. I would venture to say that the one spot that Shane Beamer is not worried about is the running back room at South Carolina. I can I've never met Coach Beamer, but I'd like to think that he says in the SEC. Yeah. In the SEC, I think it's not even close with the potential that you have with Marshawn Lloyd, but we shall see. People are going to learn about Kevin Harris. A lot of the yards and stuff that they got last season, a lot of it was in games where South Carolina was an afterthought because they were trying to get the Will Muschamp stench off of them and trying to get themselves just through the season. But Kevin Harris had a heck of a year. People are going to learn. That's all I can say about that. And I tell you what, if you're going to build around a player, that's the kind of player you want to build around. He will die to get an extra yard. That's just the way that he is. He wants to win. You can just tell. Even in the games that don't matter, he's out there trying to get extra yardage and everything else. Let's see here. Blake is happy about Mississippi State. They ACC champ Notre Dame played in front of a combined total of 21,000 fans in their first 44 games. They played in front of 42,000 in 3 games at Starkville this weekend. Well, let me educate you something there, Blake. When in February, when it's 65, 70 degrees in Starkville, it's 12 degrees at Notre Dame. Nobody goes out for baseball games up there because it's too cold. That's why the South dominates college baseball. It's the weather. That's why it's a seasonal sport. And you have just a regional audience that does well in it. Yes, you're going to have more people that play there because more people can go to games because they're not going to freeze to death. Not taking anything away from Mississippi State. They won the series. Congratulations to them. But up at Notre Dame, it's cold. Nobody's going to go out for a baseball game in the cold. It's insane. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Blake also says Kentucky football fans pack their stadium even in losing years. Yeah, football's different, but who wants to go and watch baseball in it's 12 degrees outside with a wind chill that's got it near zero? Nobody wants to do that. So, yeah. Notre Dame played in front of some big crowds this weekend. They won one game from them in Starkville. Ended up dropping the series. So we can look at the College World Series, which starts this weekend? I got to look at I've got the stats here. I pulled this up earlier. But the College World Series gets underway, and you've got the one. There's like there's two ACC teams in the mix with Virginia and make sure I've got it right here. What is it? Starts on Saturday, I believe. Make sure I give you the proper stuff here. Yeah, NC State and Stanford, also Arizona and Vanderbilt on Saturday in the College World Series for Game 1 and Game 2. Also on Sunday, Game 3 and Game 4, Virginia and Tennessee, followed by Mississippi State and Texas. So 3 teams from the SEC and Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. The ACC gets 2 teams with Virginia and NC State. Who's your pick here? You know, it's kind of crazy when you step back and think about it. Alan online, it says 3 SEC teams, Rob. Okay. Well, I thought par was 4. Your SEC champion, Arkansas, lost. They scored, 21 runs in one game and lost. Slow down a little bit with all that, man. Baseball's a crazy sport. More of the rundown when we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Tennessee is playing good baseball right now. I can't argue that. Alan, you're becoming one of my favorite YouTubers over there, sir. By the way, I don't know if you guys caught it yesterday. Meg and Megan called the show, and I had to dump out of it because you can't use the S-bomb. I want you guys to understand that. I will never edit you when you call here. Your voice is just as important as mine is. So I want to make sure that we put that out there. And I think Meg and Megan knows. So, but I would never, ever just cut you off on purpose. The way our phone system is set up, when I hit the dump button, it dumps their call. I did see that, and that's something we're going to talk about in a little bit here with Don Staley. Hey, you guys want to hear some first world problems? I'm upset. I ran out of this is my energy supplement. It's called Spark. It's basically antioxidants and caffeine. And I ran out of my pink lemonade because I'm a girl and I like pink lemonade. So I'm drinking some of my wife's watermelon Spark today, ladies and gentlemen. There's no carbs in this Spark, so it's like drinking a Red Bull, but not. Brother, Walter, I one thing you'll learn about me if you hang out long enough, and I know some people think, Rob likes this and likes that. Now, man, I respect talent, and Kevin Harris has talent. And you know what? A lot of the yards that he got were, a lot of them are second, yards. What is it? The YAC, yards after contact. Yeah. He's a bulldog, man. I mean, just really good player. If you told me to pick a player from South Carolina to start a team, that would be number 1. Absolutely number 1. So I don't think Tennessee's the country's number 1 villain right now. I'm not buying all that. I'm trying. For those that have been following along, I'm doing the weightlifting contest in August. I'm ordering my singlet. Ugh, that's showing off too much of the giblets. Walk in front of people with all that. I'm not buying all that at all. What a mess that is. I'm trying to pull 600 pounds off the ground. We'll see what happens. I'm too old for that mess. Look, I'm telling you, he's the only player I'd really say, you know what? That's who I want from the South Carolina team. and probably Joyner next, to be honest. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Appreciate the folks watching on the on the group over there today. You can follow that group. Go to the Facebook page for Fox Sports Radio 1400.com and then go from there. They were talking about Walter was talking about the respect I have for Kevin Harris. Yeah, I'm telling you, if South Carolina gets to a point where they're winning 5 and 6 games this year, something like that, and I think that's a fair ceiling for South Carolina. That's not completely rebuilding year. Bunch of folks that were moving into the system. They're going to learn about Kevin Harris. Out to the phones we go. And welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. We're talking about Kevin Harris.
Yeah, man.
How much do you think his carries are going to go down this year with Marshawn Lloyd being healthy?
A lot of it depends on how many carries Lloyd's going to get. Is he completely healed? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never know when it comes to a knee injury. From what I've been told, I'm not a doctor, but if I don't think that Harris is going to have the same amount of carries that he had last year, because I think that Bobo's mentality was we're just going to give him the ball as much as we can. But I think that I think it'd be tough to lead the SEC in rushing for a second straight year, but I think he's going to finish in the top 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really do.
Would he start for Clemson?
This year, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn J. Dixon is a good running back, and there's other guys that are back there too. But if you had to, and I'm not trying to get into CJ Spiller's head up there, but as far as a guy that's going to run in between the tackles, and a lot of that Clemson doesn't really do a whole lot. But as far as just being a running back, I think that Harris would start over Lynn J. Dixon. I really do.
So, and I saw that Carolina has changed their defensive formation up this year.
Right.
And it seems like they're not playing toward their strengths. They had a little bit more. I thought they were stronger at linebacker than they were at safety.
No, sir. The linebackers are suspect, to say the least. We had a coach. We had Coach Eric Wilson on with us, and he said that South Carolina's biggest problem is that they had one SEC caliber linebacker, and that was Ernest Jones. And Coach Wilson's forgotten more about football than I'll ever dream of learning. Yeah. And if he says that's the best linebacker they've got, then linebacker's not exactly a strength for the Gamecocks.
No, I didn't. I saw that Sherrod Green was going to be back from injury from last year. I didn't know if that was going to help boost them back up a little bit or not.
Well, I think with the 4-2-5, and of course, this is stuff that I've read, and I think that the mentality is going to be almost like a bend but don't break kind of defense. Mm-hmm. Kind of what the Gamecocks had a long time ago, before they could actually build up some stuff with the line and everything else. But it's going to be a lot of keep everything in front of you. Make the field more congested as you get towards the red zone, and hopefully make enough plays where you can get the offense off the field.
What do you think South Carolina's record is going to be this year? I'm thinking 5-7, maybe 6-6.
I think 5. Well, first of all, I'm in the camp of everyone is in love with Tennessee, and I don't know how many players Tennessee is going to have. So that's a really tough game for me to pick. But a lot of it could hinge on an early matchup. The East Carolina game, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but if South Carolina goes up there and handles themselves well on the road at East Carolina, then that could jump them up for the rest of the season where, they've got, I think they can beat Vanderbilt. I don't think they'll have any issues with Eastern Illinois. So I don't think 6 wins is out of the question, but a safer number would be 5. But a lot of that depends on injuries and everything else too. And, if I were a little more secure with what Luke Doty could do at quarterback, I'd probably feel a little bit better. But I'm worried that after game 4 of the season, I think teams are going to have tape on South Carolina, and they're going to stack the box, and they're going to force Luke Doty to throw. And he hasn't been able to do that yet. So that may hinder them a little bit.
I'm from South Carolina, and I saw Luke Doty play his junior and part of his senior season before he hurt his hand.
Right.
And he's just an incredible talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know why South Carolina started him off last year at wide receiver instead of getting him in the program to play quarterback. I guess that's why Will Muschamp's not there anymore.
Well, I mean, let's remember Mike Bobo ran off Ryan Helinski, the kid who threw for 300 plus yards against Alabama, and who's now going to be the starting quarterback at Northwestern most likely. They didn't really maybe Bobo didn't have enough faith in him. He liked the Colin Hill, and that was his call to make. I mean, he's in practice, but looking back on it now, it doesn't look very good at all.
Hey, speaking about Bobo, does he stay with Nix or does he go with the new recruit that he got?
Auburn is a gong show, in my opinion. I mean, Bo Nix has been down there and he's shown spots where he could be really great. But was it TJ Finley, I believe is his name?
Yes.
The kid from LSU, who has some potential and it looks like he has a big, strong arm. But I don't know if Bobo's just got it anymore, to be honest with you. But either way, if Nix doesn't win the job, I think he hits the transfer portal. I really do.
In the transfer portal, you can only do it one time, right? It's a one-time shot.
There's guys. There was a kid that went from Nebraska to Louisville to Rice. I mean, you could transfer over and over and over again. So,
and still be ready for this season, or
I think with this season they have the opportunity because of COVID type stuff.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Have a great day. All right, there you go. Some stuff with South Carolina and of course Auburn. Yeah, I think Auburn's going to be terrible, but we shall see. Walter with a good line over there. Jake Bentley's transferred 3 times. That's true. He's going to be, I think, what is he at South Alabama this year? So yeah, there's that. What else we got over here? Fireball says, is CJ Spiller a coach or a player? Yeah, CJ Spiller was a player for Clemson. He's now their running back coach. So there you go. Jerome says, oh, snap, that's right. Blake, that was the start of his downfall. He's talking about Muschamp running out the clock to lose to Florida. Yeah. As for South Carolina fans, you got to step back and think, you know what? We've got to move on from this. It's it's like a boat that you have your boat and you strip all the old paint off of it and you just try to float with what you got. Got to put a new coat of paint on it. That's the way that it works. So, yeah. What Muschamp did to the program, it's going to take a little bit, especially on the offensive side, to get it right. But with what Shane Beamer's done, as far as bringing in the new recruits and just the vibe that's around the program, I'm not saying that it's going to happen this year, but man, they've won the offseason down there. They really, really have. All right, quick break when we come back. Joel Klatt made a request for the expanded college football playoff. I want to tell you what it is and why it makes sense. We'll talk about that and a lot more when we return. This is The Rundown. You are listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yo, Bo Nix is a baby. I mean, let's just be honest. We need to get more Auburn fans up in here. They're a passionate fan base. They really are. Yo, Bobo's a joke too. I remember last season because I went back and listened to it on the podcast feed. The crazy part when you do a show and you podcast it, anything that you say, people can come back and hammer you with. So it makes you think before you open your mouth. I remember last season, I had Coach Wilson in studio with me, and we talked about the fact that that maybe the fullback, Adam Prentice, was going to be the guy that could make the difference for South Carolina last year. Holy crap, what a disaster that turned out to be. What a mess. I'm with guys being big on loyalty to folks, but this is not Colorado State. You're not suiting up every weekend to play Rice. And Bobo should know that. He coached down at in Athens. He knows. So just stop with that nonsense, man. No one wants to hear that noise. Oh, Colin Hill, stop it. Remember the lies we were told about Colin Hill can make all the throws? Can he? Can he really? If Muschamp had any sense, he would have told them point blank, Helinski's our quarterback. Deal with it. You want to be a coach him up. What do you have, a 1-year stopgap between players? Ridiculous. I did have that in my notes there. Thank you, Blake. Blake, did you go to any of those baseball games? Blake, if I go to any Mississippi State games, I'm going to call you up. We're going to go out and have a beer. They were fake legs. That's not nice, Jerome. You're making me think bad things before I have to turn the mic on and talk to the people. Damn you, Jerome. I don't know if I'm buying all that. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon. Now, why I'm saying evening, it's afternoon. It's like 3:35 here on the East Coast, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, a couple things I want to get into really quick here. Joel Klatt has requested for expanded college football playoff, how they're doing the field. So if you've heard, the first four in the first four seeds there will get buys through the first round. And then to save the bowl system, or some of the bowls that were there, they're going to, after the first round of the playoffs, they're going to go to some of these bowls, and that's where you'll play. Joel Klatt tweeted out, and this is really good, by the way, from the Fox Sports college football analyst. The first and quarterfinal round of the new CFP should be played on campus. Virtually no need to save bowl games, which have lost most, if not all, of their significance. 6 champions and 2 highest-ranked at-large programs should all get a home game. Let's get the CFB back to campus. Ladies and gentlemen, he is absolutely right. What makes college football great is the atmospheres that are on campus. Can you imagine if you have a matchup where, I don't know, let's say that you could have a rematch of the Iron Bowl, but have it at Alabama, in theory, for a spot to play for the national title. They would burn the state of Alabama to the ground. You could have a matchup with Clemson and Georgia and not have it in Charlotte. Have it at Clemson or Georgia, wherever the higher seed is. I mean, the possibilities are completely endless. Yes, the neutral site for the final game of the year, I'm fine with that. That's not a big deal at all. But bring the college football games back to campus. That's just the way that it should be. And you know what? It's you take out that neutral site and thing, and it makes the games mean a lot more. What do I mean by that? You know what? You're at the end of the season, you're going to make sure that you do what you need to do to make sure that you have a higher seed, because you want that home playoff game. Think about that. I mean, that makes the regular season mean so much more, simply knowing that you're going to have to to gear up to try to get that home field advantage. Kind of interesting how that's going to work out. We shall see as we roll along here how that's going to work. But I like Joel Klatt's idea. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. We talked earlier about the 10 most hostile environments going in for 2021. Yeah, that's a couple teams that didn't make the list include Alabama, which best team in the country, but I think it's all about, I think the majority of Alabama's games are against teams they're probably going to be favored by 17 points or more. So there's that too. Blake wants to know, what do you think the Vegas spread will be for the for week 2, Mississippi State and NC State? So Mississippi State has to go on the road. We're talking football here. I don't really like to try to guess too much on the second week of the season, but, Dave Doeren up at NC State, he's trying to put out a message there, and winning against an SEC team would be a big step for their program. They're kind of an afterthought, NC State is, because of the division they play in. But if they can win that could be huge for them. I mean, it really, really could. So as far as the talent they've got coming back, there are a lot of folks that like NC State this year. Maybe they're the quote-unquote sleeper team. When we go to ACC kickoff in a couple weeks on July 22nd, we may have Dave Doeren on the show. May ask him about that. So, yeah, there's that too. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. We're also going to talk a little bit here in a moment when we come back from break about the fact that South Carolina basketball coach Dawn Staley, there's been talks that maybe she's going to be a candidate for the Portland Trailblazers job. I don't doubt the ability of Dawn Staley to coach. We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll see how that works out. Jimmy says Alonzo Frank has entered the transfer portal. He says he really hates that one. If that just happened there, then we'll have the write-up on that on the website, foxsportsradio1400.com. Also on the website today, Joe Burrow came out and said that one wide receiver has made some big changes. Says he's looking forward to T. Higgins. And what T. Higgins, the former Clemson prospect, who had a pretty good season last year, his own quarterback's putting him over there. Of course, I think LSU made the dumbest, Cincinnati made the dumbest move in the draft, drafting Jamar Chase when they need a tackle to protect Joe Burrow. But with that, they've got a lethal combo of wide receivers with Jamar Chase on one side and T. Higgins on the other. So from thestate.com, Alonzo Frank. Yes. The big man who, 6'8" forward, according to Matt Zients of On3 Sports, is entering the transfer portal for South Carolina. It's a big hit there for the South Carolina basketball program as Alonzo Frank is going to move on. And you know what? In basketball, it's going to be a bigger deal on the transfer portal because a lot of young men are going to have the mentality of, hey, if I don't start, I'm just going to move on. So, yeah, I'm going to bring on the program about that. is my buddy Terrence Oglesby. Terrence Oglesby, of course, played at Clemson. And I'm going to tweet at him right now, send him a message on Twitter, because he's also in the college basketball coaching circles. And I want him to talk to me a little bit about how the transfer portal may be screwing over college basketball. We'll have to talk with Terrence about that, see if I can get him on the program the next couple of days. Quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Dawn Staley possibly coaching at Portland. We'll get into that and a lot more. You're listening to The Rundown. We appreciate you here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I think the transfer portal is killing college sports. Texting Terrence about that right now. Yeah, but he was a big body that if you remember, all the big men that Frank Martin had, they didn't really do well until their junior and senior years. Mike Kotsar, guys like that. So Terrence Oglesby will join us tomorrow. Former Clemson standout on the hoops court. Best shooter I've seen as far as just spot-up shooter ever in person. He's also played overseas, and he is working on getting his own coaching spot right now. He's going to join us tomorrow to talk about the transfer portal. And we'll get him on the program tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. Bobby Dodd. Help me out with what I need to know about Bobby Dodd there, SCU. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Kind of breaking news here. South Carolina junior forward Alonzo Frank has entered the transfer portal, according to a school spokesperson. First reported by Matt Zenitz of On3 Sports. 6'8" didn't play for the Gamecocks following the team's first COVID-19 shutdown. Martin says he doesn't want to make this about him or a feel sorry kind of soap opera after Frank was ruled out for the season. Emerged as a starter during his sophomore year, starting in 12 games. Martin said after the season, he expected Frank to return healthy and play in the 2021-2022 season. But it's nice to have friends of the show that can help explain the transfer portal and how it's going to affect the college basketball world on a bigger front. Terrence Oglesby, former Clemson guard, will join us tomorrow. And we're going to talk about the effect that it could have on a team every year and how you can change your fortunes quickly. You really could. And I give you an example too, especially if players are able to move around and just move in and go wherever they want without having to wait a year. Can you imagine not this past Clemson team, but the team before, if they had Nick Honor on that team for Clemson? That would have been a much different Clemson team. And you can go across the country and find different things everywhere. South Carolina, if they could have had Seventh Woods not having to sit and wait, it's a big deal. So Terrence Oglesby will tell us about that on the basketball front, because you're going to see a lot more of what's happening with Alonzo Frank. Hey, I'm deciding to move on. And how it's almost like in my opinion, it's like a mixed bag. I do agree with what Coach Dave Clawson said, though, where, it's a transfer. The transfer portal is garbage in some aspects. Look at all the guys that are moving around, but look at all the guys that are still looking for teams. The young man that transferred from Nebraska as their quarterback there, went to Louisville, didn't work out for him there. Now he's at Rice. So think about that for a minute. You went from a Big Ten program to an ACC program to Rice. No disrespect to Rice, but they're on a different level than the other two programs. But a lot of these people are thinking, man, if I don't get to start, I am out. The idea of having a good backup, especially at the quarterback position, is a pipe dream. I think that's what it's going to end up being. The Clemson quarterback from a couple of years ago, Chase Bryce, who came in and led them to that win over Syracuse. All that's going to be gone. All that's going to be completely gone. Guys that are like that, because if they want to play, and let's be honest, if you're at a level where you can play, and you go to, let's say you go to a South Carolina and you're just a step behind Luke Doty, not much, but just enough where you're just a kind of a step behind, you can have the opportunity to play somewhere else. Go to App State and play. Maybe your career will blossom there. But you're not going to get on if you're not going to get on the field, it's not going to matter. So the transfer portal it's an amazing thing we're having to deal with this year, in addition to the NIL bill, which, by the way, Texas passed their bill. It starts July 1st. So we're going to see how that works out with the names, image, and likeness bill. So we'll see which states are going to lead with that. And is that going to be a recruiting tool where, hey, if you come here, you can get started on your using your image and likeness right now. You don't have to wait. We'll see how that's going to work out as well. A couple other notes before we get out of here. Dawn Staley was asked about coaching in the NBA. She said, quote, according to Yahoo Sports, "I surely can stand in front of men and lead them." That's a very, very bold statement there from the coach. Not really that bold. I mean, let's be honest. You've got Becky Hammon, who has been a San Antonio Spurs assistant coach for a long time and has the blessing of Greg Popovich, which is one of the most respected coaches in the NBA. If Greg Popovich says Becky Hammon can coach, Becky Hammon can coach. I mean, I just believe that. And I think Dawn Staley can lead some folks too. But there's going to be a set of folks that think, hey, you can't lead men if you're a woman. That's out there. I'm not buying it, but that's out there. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Blake says she'd be a good fit in Portland. Can she walk into a huddle and lead Damian Lillard? And that's something else too. When you've got that much money invested into one player like Portland does, they've got two guys, in my opinion. I mean, it's all about Damian Lillard, but CJ McCollum is another guy. Can she walk into that huddle and have the respect of those two guys? Because I guarantee you, if Damian Lillard tells the rest of the team, that's the boss, and we're going to do what she says, the rest of the team's going to follow. So can she win over that one guy? And remember, Dawn Staley is hard on her point guards. She's famous for that because that's what she was. And the NBA, let's be honest, is completely different than what you're doing in college. Anyway, we shall see. USC Insider says Don Staley better not leave. You know, South Carolina opened up the Brinks truck to get rid of Will Muschamp. You should open up the Brinks truck to keep Don Staley. Now, I know some people get upset about the some of the political statements that her and her team have made. I get that, but the woman wins. For what she's supposed to do, she wins. Simple as that. All right. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have plenty of more stuff for you, including Terrence Oglesby joining us to talk about the transfer portal and how I believe it's ruining college basketball. Maybe he can help enlighten me a little bit. He's actually played, I'm a pretty good horse champion. I think I could beat Terrence in a game of horse. He would. When I tell him that tomorrow, he'll laugh openly at me. Jimmy says respect must be earned in life and or NBA locker rooms. Well, that's anywhere, brother. Got to be respected anywhere you go. You're right about that. SCU wants me to ask Terrence Oglesby about his missed dunk. I can do that. Terrence is open about that stuff, man. We'll have him on the show tomorrow, and he'll tell us about the transfer portal. I'm going to challenge him to a game of horse. What am I, stupid? Challenging one of the best shooters ever to a game of horse? Yeah, that's not happening. I'll challenge him, though. I don't care. I'll go out and lose. I don't care. Terrence can actually shoot it. You know, somebody else who at one point could play was Lawton Swan. He is the host of Clemson Sports Talk.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He is, of course, on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Now, I played basketball with the Swan before, and I beat him up and down the court like he was silly. I mean, it was not even close. I was bouncing the ball off of his forehead and making layups and everything. Our former intern, Lowell, who's now all over the place, he was a guy that was just amazed at my basketball ability, especially when it came to slapping around the man that's the head of the Lakers apology tour. Anyway, his show is next. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports. This show will be podcast for you. It's up at 5 o'clock if you missed any of it. I'll tell you what, tomorrow, really looking forward to talking to Terrence Oglesby about the transfer portal because something that's going to affect us all summer. All right, I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Be sure to follow me there. NBA playoffs tonight, Milwaukee and the Nets. If you're going to watch some of that. More of the rundown tomorrow. Thanks for checking us out here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. You guys are awesome, man. Hey, I'm telling you, you guys laugh, man. I feel like I'm old, man. In my day, I could really, really play ball. I was stronger than everybody else. No, it wasn't like that. I wasn't one of those fools that could dribble the ball. I was really, really smart. I made really good passes, and I could shoot, really shoot. Not Terrence Oglesby shoot, but I could shoot. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later on.